Welcome to this Deep Rock Galactic tutorial video. This video will give you a few basic tips and tricks and insights on how to not get lost in the first couple of minutes or first mission you will play in Deep Rock Galactic. In the beginning of the game you will wake up in this room where you have two terminals, one for your character selection if you change your mind between missions and you want to play another class. And you'll find the second terminal which covers your key performance indicators, which is a summary of statistics, milestones and perks. The milestones, if you complete them, will give you claimable perks which you can then use for the perk system, which in turn gives you basically passives for your dwarf which make the game easier or the missions easier. This might be passive damage like thorns to your enemies when they attack you in a melee mode, which gives you additional shield recovery, or for your teammates, and a lot of other different perks. As soon as you walk out of your room, you will see that there are in total 4 sleeping cabins of your dwarves or personal rooms. They all have the same modifications, terminals, if you will say so. So none of them are different in their functionalities, they just have a different design as you can see, but they cover the basic terminals as in your room. You can use the terminals in every single one of them. The first one being is the mission select terminal, which is right in front of those rooms as you can see. And it covers basically different types of missions you can do. There are, as you can see, they have the same icons overall, and you can select them here, select the difficulty. You can host them solo or with friends, which you can later on invite. And they have different difficulty settings, but they all give you credits as a reward. The only difference between those missions is based upon the region, and based upon the region you get different secondary materials, which are, for example, Bismar and Umanite. If you change the region to a different one, for example to this fungus region, you will find Croppa and Jadis, for example. The second most important terminal is your equipment terminal. Here you can modify your different types of weapons. Each dwarf class has the same amount of weapons. Not every single one of these slots can be modified. For example, the flares cannot be modified, or the grenades can only be changed for different grenade types, which will unlock as you level up. But the weapons can be modified with each level, or your special abilities. The classes have different types of weapons or weapon abilities or grenades, or for example the engineer class has a turret which can be modified. These modifications will unlock as you level up. And you have of course your perks, your passives, which are blue and they are red. They're just divided in 2 different classes, but both of them are either passive or active perks or a combination of both. The weapons will unlock later on as you level up your character, and you will have to do special weapon unlocking missions for each of your classes. Another important terminal if you play solo, which we should also cover here, is the drone, which will accompany you if and only if you play solo. As soon as you have one other player, the drone will not be available. The drone is called Bosco, it is often referred to as in the game. You can change the skins for it, the colors later on, or if you have the supporter edition bot, and you can of course level it up as you level on. There are also so-called passive perks. The more of these modifications you unlock, the more passives you get, which are mainly cosmetic, except for your armor, and you can have those perks of course also on your weapons and your gear. Now these are the most important things before you start a mission, so let's select one of the basic missions which you will have in the start, which is mining Morkite. So I'll just start here, some random mission, go with the challenging modifier, and let's go. So as soon as you start the mission on the terminal, you can climb up this ramp, go into your launch rocket, and the mission will commence soon. You can also play with the balls or dice as you want. As soon as the rocket is dropping, you are landed on a planet, and you're ready to set on your first mission. The concept of Deep Rock Galactic is to do these different types of missions which have all different gathering goals or fighting goals, or later on you have things which are called deep dives, which consist of several missions and give you specific rewards. The rewards in these games are basically gathering minerals and credits, which then let you unlock cosmetics, costumes, different weapon types, weapon modifications, gear modifications, and other different cosmetic stuff. So, as the concept is now explained, as soon as you land on the planet, your rocket will go back up again, as you can see, and you can start with your mission. The mission always consists of two different types of objectives. The first one is on top right, and the secondary, which is not mandatory to complete the mission and leave the planet, is to collect Apoka blooms, for example, on this one. Most missions are consisting of collecting things or killing some things, and yeah, let's get on this mission. Another interesting thing about the interface is in the bottom you can see your gathered minerals. In this beginning you have a cap of 40 of each material, and this means that you can mine through to another section, tunnel system of this planet, which can be a bit confusing in the start. So if you open your map, you can see, for example, here that these kind of two cave systems are not connected to each other. So you might want to look out for this type of pattern, and then you can pretty easily and pretty fast mine through this. You will find all kinds of different materials which you can gather. You will after a while see which one these are. This starch nut, for example, is something which you need for brewing. You can later on brew some ales for yourselves. These ales can then make your game easier for the missions. You can brew them at the base, at the mothership, if you can call it like that. The majority of basic movement and controls are already explained in the tutorial, so we will be not covering that here, but I will give you a couple of tips which are maybe not as intuitive or easily forgotten or looked over in the tutorial. One of them is don't forget to sprint. If you hold your shift key or maybe some other key binding, you can sprint in the game and make your movement faster, but you will run out of breath after a certain amount of time. The second important thing is to use your flares. You can see them on the bottom right, which will give you the necessary light or vision in the map of those different types of caverns, which can sometimes really lead to your death when you do not see the terrain properly. So do not try to spam them in a quick succession, or you might run out of them, and then if you're running away, you don't have the light or the vision to escape from enemies or position yourself correctly. For the engineer, for example, it's the platform gun, which allows you to place these kind of cheesy looking platforms which allow you to jump up or traverse the terrain. So each of the classes have a very unique way of traversing the terrain, which is, in my opinion, the main way they set themselves apart. The engineer has the platform gun, as mentioned. The driller has a really fast way of mining, so it's like 5 times faster, for example, like mining with your pickaxe. The scout has a really fast hook, which he can use to pull himself to different areas, and the gunner, which is probably the slowest and most mobile way of moving around. But what he does is he shoots a zip line across a certain area, which the whole team can use. In return, I would say, though, he has one of the strongest weapons, or the most diverse weapons, I would say. So as you can see, we mined through this room, we found a lot of different materials and stuff, and here we can claim the loot, which is a muddy path cosmetic item for the driller class. If you should die in Deep Rock Galactic, the mission is not over immediately. If you play solo, you have Bosco, which has a set amount of revives. You can see it on the bottom left with the green bars below Bosco. That's the amount of revives he has available for you if you play solo. If you play in a team, your teammates have an infinite amount of revives. There is not a set amount of revives if you play in a team, but somebody needs to still be alive in your team. So if all of your team dies at the same time, the game is basically over. So if you play together with Bosco, you might die and he will revive you up to 4 times, or depending on how you modify him. In Deep Rock Galactic, if you fail a mission, you basically don't get almost any reward from it, so it's really punishing to lose a mission. So always choose your difficulty so you have a real chance of finishing the mission, or you might get a bit demotivated playing the game. So if you might die too much on missions, consider on reducing the difficulty. Deep Rock Galactic has a lot of different enemy types, which we will be covering in different videos mainly. Important thing to remember is to always have enough ammunition in Deep Rock Galactic. When you start a game, you will have a set amount of ammunition. You will be fully supplied with the full ammunition and grenade amount. But as you keep on playing and you kill those little monsters and grunts and whatsoever, you will run out of it. So what you want to do is you always want to be at least on 80 minerals or 80 supply of nitra, which is this red crystal, red mineral. As soon as you have 80, you are able to calm down the supply pod. The terrain needs to be somehow flat or accessible, but you don't have to worry about the ceiling. It will drop or drill through it. Another important thing to notice is do not stand below the dropping area. It will shine. There will be some exclamation marks, but if you stand below it after somewhat like 10 seconds, it will drop on your head and it will kill you instantly. A smart trick to do sometimes is to lure enemies below the nitra pot. It will deal a lot of damage to them and will one-shot a lot of those enemies. So keep that in mind and try it out. It might be really fun in some situations. As soon as you are finished with your primary objective, there will be an option on Molly or either one of those control stations to press the button, which will then lead to a countdown timer in almost all cases, and it will lead to a final event, which will be mostly trying to get to a drop pod in time. It will be mostly 5 minutes. So be prepared, be stocked with ammunition or whatever you need to get to the pod, for example, enough platforms or fuel for your driller or whatever it might be that you need. Then you need to hurry back to the pod or finish a point defense or something similar. It is critical to really be in the drop pod on time. Otherwise, the complete mission will fail no matter what you did. So might happen to you in the beginning sometimes that you miscalculate, but yeah, don't forget to always prepare yourself before you finalize the mission. Maybe take some time for yourself, have maybe a drop pod, and yeah. That's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like or subscribe if you want, and see you on the next show of ours.